open news if we the four corners of Ghana there na ebusia for channel way so ena wonsa ebeka ewo aha eye Ghanatube so ensem ekobe nyina no aha na ni nyina no ubenya edi efina se ne maji akonya matena sesei no na chese ensem ahodo ekobe nyina no eno era mite ebo ebusiafo entem pa so mennum enkwan no enja fufu ne bewa kotie ensem ekoso ewo man Ghana me ba na matwa so edi amam.
Fitch has upgraded Ghana's new US dollar bonds to a CC, and that gives us a positive outlook, but they're worried about the country's ability to service its debt in the future. It projects debt to GDP ratio could still be as high as 68% next year. Well, Fitch also stressed that the country continues to remain in debt in default, highlighting that liquidity pressures could lead to a downgrade. Let me bring in Associate Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Lord Mensah. Prof, thank you so much for your time here on Newstex. Just want to get your thoughts. It appears we're doing something right, isn't it?
Let me correct this. I'm a full professor now. I'm not an associate professor anymore.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. If you look at the regions and then the zones that we find ourselves when it comes to these credit ratings, we are still in the junk region. And moving from CCC to C+ does not necessarily mean that you're doing something extraordinary.
Okay.
We need to appreciate that we have negotiated on our external debt, which gives room for, some extensions when it comes to debt service, and it gives the country, kind of respite when it comes to, debt service. So the pressure, one way or the other, has gone down. But the outlook does not look, all positive, as they've indicated in their report. Because, if you look at the rate at which, the currency is depreciating, and then relative to our external debt service, you will come to appreciate that even though we are negotiating to reduce our debt, exchange rate is still having a bite on our debt levels. And by so doing, ability to pay, keeps on, reducing. And that is why they're saying that, yes, we have moved from, CCC to, CCC+, but then it does not take us from, possibility of, not servicing our debt.
Now, it brings us to the question about how we can work to sustain our debt levels, because they're also concerned about our debt. And we live in an economy where government, to a large extent, will rely on foreign aid and loans to be able to build the kind of industrialized economy they look forward to. We're seeing this play out in every government that have come up. How then do we sustain our debt levels, which they're really worried about?
Yeah, so for now, loans may not be the route to, get in foreign inflows. Let me put it that way. I think it's about time we repackage the country and then make sure that various institutions can borrow on their balance sheet, present very good front, even though the country will have some backing for those institutions. But then to present Ghana and then say Ghana is going for loan is going to be difficult. No country will deal with Ghana seriously when it comes to lending. Another route we may have to look at is foreign direct investment to ensure that at least the country becomes, business friendly, so that the monies that government could have gone to borrow by itself, those monies will go through, individuals and other businesses that may come and then invest directly here, to create the necessary jobs that are required. But for Ghana itself as a country, it will take a long time, for us to attract, the necessary funds that is required from the international market. Unless maybe, those who are lending to us, are looking for some exorbitant, interest rate, which probably will still keep us, in high debt levels. Because we should understand that the more we keep on, borrowing at high cost, it tends to build up our debt. So from where I sit, I think, the country needs to call back, make sure that we reorganize ourselves very well, to become, business friendly, so that businesses can come and invest here direct. On the other hand, public institutions like, Cocoa Board and other things can be revamped, so that government will move away from, their activities, and Cocoa Board in itself will borrow on its balance sheet. And by so doing, we should be able to attract the necessary foreign inflows that is required to help us grow.
But if we pull the brakes on borrowing, the big question then remains, how do we run the economy, especially when in Ghana, most of our internally generated funds come from taxing the people. And people already complain about being overburdened with too many taxes, the e-levy, the VAT, the COVID levy. What then is the way forward for government?
Right. So we need to appreciate that the threshold of our revenue generation is okay. Let me put it that way. We don't have problem with revenue generation. The problem has to do with, prioritizing our expenditure. And if you look at all the solutions we prefer, as a country, going to IMF and all those, we try to hide away from, expenditure reductions and prioritizing expenditure as it's supposed to be. Let me give you a typical example, which is a backyard example. You look at, you go to secondary schools and you visit your kids, and you will see them wearing uniforms like free SHS and all those. But it turns out that the kids are not getting food to eat, which is the important thing that keeps the kids at school, rather than just, giving them free uniforms printed, free SHS in it and all those. So from where I sit, it has to do with how we prioritize our expenditure lines. And if we are not able to, control our expenditure, it doesn't matter the levels of, expenditure, we're going to raise. There's no way we can manage the economy as it's supposed to be. So the critical thing has to do with expenditure, prioritization and rationalization.
Thank you, Professor Lord Mensah.
The Ghana Mine Workers Union is asking the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to quickly announce the new strategic investor for the Bogoso Prestia mine following the termination of the mining lease of Future Global Resources 2 months ago. According to the Mine Workers Union, their call is coming at a time when the Minerals Commission has submitted its recommendations on the new investor to the ministry after due diligence was done for the selection. Speaking to Joy Business, General Secretary of the Ghana Mine Workers Union of TUC, Abdul Mumin Gagbana, urged the ministry to quickly act on the recommendations to bring back the once vibrant mine on its feet.
We are seized with information to the effect that the Minerals Commission, and by extension the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, has done a lot of due diligence targeted at least deciding on one of the one of the prospective investors that have shown interest. Our concern, however, as a union is that it's 2 months. Practically 2 months now since government took this decision. And indeed, the Minerals Commission, the Board of Minerals Commission, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources have done a lot of work. I'm reliably informed that a recommendation has been made to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, which is by law established. And so the expectation is for the Minister to proceed so that whoever the investor is can take charge of the mine. As we speak now, workers still at work, but practically no salaries are being paid. Minerals Commission attempted to make available some one-off stipend for these workers, but obviously that is not sustainable. And so what we are saying is that once a decision has been made by Minerals Commission and its board, and a recommendation made to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, it's only fair and proper that at least the Minister goes ahead, with the announcement of whoever the investor is. Because as a union, our interest is to ensure that the mine is back and running. Players can get their jobs. The community of Bogoso and Prestia at least would be revamped once again, so that at least the domestic economy will boom, arising out of the comeback of the mine. So we simply do not understand why, for close to 2 months now, after proper due diligence has been done and recommendations made, the government is still, quiet about this whole thing.
Ubetimi eja comment comment section na meje bre akinkan de amount fefe make I will say onya subscribe ye e ma channel we ebusia for subscribe na hit notification bell no se ne be ansem no sem ni tuma na wenya no intem pa so mo amodofo snowy e na betena se e nsem no ebrem sisi ade